The film opens by showing the condition on a planet located very far from Earth. A man is seen lying helplessly in a deep ice crevice. He tries to scream, calling out to a friend, hoping for help. However, the friend takes a weapon and walks away, leaving the man behind. Soon after, terrifying creatures appear. Mickey is a clone, or more precisely, the 17th clone. Every time Mickey dies, the company he works for immediately prints a new body for him. Mickey's memories are backed up into a computer every week, then injected into the new body after it is printed. This means there is almost no memory gap. This process becomes part of the routine for the Department of Science and Research, to the point that they barely pay attention to Mickey's fate anymore. During the printing of Mickey's 17th body, the tube connected to his brain comes loose and interrupts the process before a scientist reconnects it. Cloning is forbidden on Earth, so this program can only be run outside Earth, where they call these clones replacements or expendables. Mickey is one of them, which means he is sent to carry out dangerous tasks because he can be replaced at any time. One day, Mickey is sent outside the spaceship to perform a repair, but it turns out to be a trick. There is no damage at all. They just want Mickey to be exposed to radiation and report all the pain he feels until he slowly dies. The next version of Mickey only lives for 15 minutes, so the scientists focus on collecting as many samples as possible. A scientist named Dorothy calls those samples something special. It all begins 4 years ago, when Mickey and his friend Timo still live on Earth. Timo convinces Mickey to take a loan from a crazy loan shark to open a macaron shop, but the business fails, and it doesn't take long before debt collectors start chasing them. When they come to their senses, they are already face-to-face with a mafia boss named Darius who likes to torture people with a chainsaw. They realize that if they don't pay, they will die. So they decide to escape the planet, and Mickey signs up for a colony expedition. Even so, the number of applicants reaches millions because everyone wants to leave Earth. The expedition is led by a former congressman named Kenneth, who fails twice in elections. He has many fanatic followers who are ready to do anything, and he gets major sponsorship from a religious corporation. Timo gets accepted into the expedition because he has a pilot license. Meanwhile, Mickey, who unfortunately has no useful skills, randomly applies as an expendable without reading the description. A company representative nicknamed Red Hair takes Mickey on a tour while explaining his job. So, the machine they call a printer takes all organic waste from the spaceship, such as food scraps, human waste, even corpses. Everything is used to print new clones. Unfortunately, instead of paying attention, Mickey gets distracted by Red Hair's scent, to the point that none of the explanations register in his mind. Red Hair even removes a pimple on Mickey's forehead so it doesn't appear in every copy, before putting Mickey into the machine for an initial scan. Then, she creates a memory backup stored in a brick-like box. Mickey is also injected with a special fluid that stimulates old memories, causing him to remember the moment of his mother's death. At that time, while traveling with his mother, young Mickey presses a red button and a deadly accident happens. So Mickey takes another emotional hit. Red Hair then gives Mickey a gun and asks him to end everything as a sign of trust in the system. Besides, Mickey must get used to death. Of course, Mickey doesn't dare to do it, so Red Hair pulls the trigger herself and reveals it was all just a bluff. After that event, the spaceship launches, and Mickey starts adjusting to his new environment with the crew. It turns out the food is very bad, and everything is strictly rationed. If they take more than allowed, the alarm goes off. During a meal, Kenneth arrives with his wife, Ilfa, and aides from the church. It's obvious that Kenneth is not a smart person and is actually being used by Ilfa and the church for their own interests. Most of the crew are Kenneth's fans and get very excited to see him, but some remain calm. That's when Mickey meets a security officer named Nasha, and he falls in love at first sight. Nasha invites Mickey to her table, and of course, Mickey immediately goes. They share food and instantly click with each other. At the same time, Kenneth gives a grand speech about the vision and mission of arriving on a new planet and building a new society. Since food rations will remain limited until the colony is established, Kenneth bans sexual activity on the spaceship. People clearly dislike this rule, so he promises to hold a big event as compensation once they arrive at the destination planet. Soon, The fans see Kenneth as a hero. What annoys Mickey is the repeated question from the crew, what does it feel like to die? Which makes him very uncomfortable. One day, Nasha threatens to shoot them so they can feel it for themselves. This causes a commotion in the cafeteria, and the guards lock them up in a cage overnight. Mickey also receives an extra punishment, reduced food rations. Nasha is a jealous person. So one day, when two women named Kai and Jen try to be friendly to Mickey, Nasha shows up just in time, reaffirming that Mickey already has a partner. Eventually, the spaceship arrives at the destination planet, Niflheim, and the scientists immediately send Mickey out without protection to collect all the viruses in the area. Soon after, Mickey feels pain and eventually dies. So the experiment is repeated several times to find a vaccine. At one point, when Mickey is placed in a body bag, and even though the scientists realize he is still alive, they still throw him into the recycling pit. Thanks to Mickey versions 12 to 16, the vaccine is finally created, and humans can visit Niflheim without wearing astronaut suits. Mickey is assigned again, this time with the first exploration team, and they enter a very cold cave. Kai sees a hole in the wall and finds worm-like creatures. One of them jumps toward her, and when Kai starts to run, the creature grabs her. One of the team members fires a shot, which causes all the creatures to flee. The team begins to exit the cave, but Jen freezes in fear when she hears creatures from above. So, she fires her weapon, which breaks the ice layer and crushes her to death. After returning to the spaceship, Kenneth scolds Mickey because, as the expendable, Mickey is the one who should have died, not Jen. He also watches the footage of the planet's creatures and names them creepers. Then, as punishment, Mickey's food ration is reduced again, and his work hours are doubled. Mickey is then sent out to take creeper samples, while Timo is supposed to pass by and drop food from above. One afternoon, unlucky Mickey steps on thin ice, which breaks and causes him to fall into a crevice. This continues the scene from the beginning of the video, after the jerk Timo leaves. Several creepers rush in, and the biggest one drags Mickey's body. The creeper babies start surrounding and sometimes biting him, until eventually, Mickey is thrown out. Then he hears a strange creeper sound, which he can imitate well. Mickey stands still, staring at the creepers, and concludes that maybe clones are too disgusting. Even predators don't want to eat them. Then Mickey sees a company truck passing by. He tries to shout for help, but no one hears, until he finally chases it and manages to get on the vehicle. Back on the spaceship, Mickey goes to his room and lies down on the bed. To his surprise, Mickey meets himself, version 18, already printed. Mickey 17 panics because the presence of two versions at the same time is a clear violation with severe consequences. They both realize this, so Mickey 18 throws a dumbbell at Mickey 17. The problem of double clones actually starts back on Earth. When cloning methods are first introduced, the ethics committee becomes very concerned about the potential for abuse, especially because one of the scientists named Alan is suspected to be a sociopath. A witness identifies Alan as the person behind a series of homeless murders in the city. However, Alan has a perfect alibi. Eventually, the police get permission to search Alan's house and discover that Alan secretly clones himself to commit crimes while maintaining an alibi. When two Allens are interrogated, it turns out that a third Allen is still roaming the streets and continues killing people. The third Allen, who turns out to be the original, is finally caught. Then a huge debate happens about how to apply the law in this unique case. The church strongly opposes the existence of double clones because they believe one soul should only have one body. On the other hand, the team of scientists thinks it is a waste not to use this technology. Coincidentally, Kenneth gets involved in the debate, stating that printed bodies are a sin, but can be used for a greater good. That's how he introduces the expendable program, proposing a law that allows only one expendable per planet and promises to destroy all clones if more than one is ever printed. Mickey 17 wakes up and realizes that 18 is moving him with a cart. 17 remembers that Nasha once explained the differences between each Mickey, and this 18 seems much more aggressive. When they arrive at the recycling room, 17 tries to attack from behind, but 18 reads the move and immediately beats him up. 17 gets pushed toward the pit and tries to bargain. What if they share shifts and take turns dying? 18 realizes that 17 is afraid of dying and doesn't understand why, despite going through it many times before. Even though 17 shares touching words about how they are actually different, 18 still tries to push him in. But the moment is interrupted when they hear footsteps approaching, and both Mickeys quickly hide. It turns out the person coming is Timo, who secretly sells a happy substance called expendable to other crew members. After the deal is done, 18 comes out and immediately attacks Timo, blaming him for ruining his life because of Timo's business idea. He pushes Timo toward the pit, but before he can finish him off, 17 jumps in. 17 tries to save his friend, but 18 pulls him back. The two of them start fighting, until 18 grabs a hot metal rod and gets ready to finish off Timo. Once again, the moment is interrupted when Nasha and Zeke, the head of security, enter the room. 18 signals Timo to play along, unless he wants the expendable business exposed to everyone. They pretend that Timo slips and 18 rushes in to save him. 17 watches everything from the shadows, feeling jealous when he sees Nasha leaving with 18. He tries to follow them, but a church representative stops him and asks him to take a photo with the company mascot, then announces that Mickey is chosen for a dinner with Kenneth and Ylfa. Later on, during the dinner, 17 can't seem to stop eating because the food is absolutely incredible. Kenneth apologizes for Jen's death, and then it turns out Kai also joins the dinner. Kenneth and Ylfa express their condolences over Jen's death and begin talking about their future plans. In short, the couple wants the colony to be populated by pure offspring, and since Kai fits that criteria, they hope she agrees to have a child. Other colonies usually use a chip in the fertilized embryo, but they don't support methods like that. Suddenly, 17 starts vomiting, and the science team rushes into the room. They see a rash forming on 17's neck and conclude that the experimental growth hormone injected into the meat is the cause. The science team is actually developing a special cure and immediately injects it into Mickey's body. But instead, Mickey 17 becomes weaker and suffers unbearable pain. Kenneth thinks it's more humane to end 17's suffering, and Ylfa starts moving her favorite carpet to avoid staining it. Kai becomes angry seeing Mickey treated like that, but Kenneth reminds her that Mickey is just an experiment. Mickey 17 begs for his life and claims to feel better, so Kai takes him away. In Kai's room, Mickey 17 sees some photos that reveal Kai and Jen were very close. Kai then asks Mickey what it feels like to die, because she wants to know what Jen might have felt. Mickey admits that it is terrifying, and he hates it deeply. Kai then tries to get close, which makes Mickey panic and run away. When he arrives in his room, Nasha immediately recognizes that he is 17, which means version 18 has already told her. Nasha then uses her lipstick to mark both versions of Mickey, laughing like a maniac. Now 18 seems friendlier, and at the same time 17 notices an empty ampoule, meaning they have just taken oxazole. They start to argue, but Nasha quickly interrupts and suggests they share tasks and food. Suddenly, Kai bursts into the room and sees everything without saying a word. She immediately walks out, and Nasha rushes after her. The two Mickeys then watch TV, which only shows Kenneth talking with the scientists on a ridiculous talk show. 18 throws his drink at the screen and gets even angrier when 17 tells him about the dinner. 18 quickly grabs Nasha's gun and leaves the room, intending to kill Kenneth. Meanwhile, Nasha catches up to Kai, who wants to report the clone violation since it's illegal. Kai could stay quiet, but she demands one of the Mickeys in return. Nasha, furious, firmly states that Mickey isn't a toy to be passed around. The argument is cut short when 18 runs past them, followed by 17 warning that 18 has a gun. In the conference room, a laser machine is cutting open a giant rock to reveal a material called black diamond. 18 sneaks into the crowd and gets ready to shoot, but one of Kenneth's fans stops him. At the same time, a creeper emerges from the rock, causing panic. People run around while Kenneth climbs onto a table, shouting orders to sterilize the area and capture the creature alive. Scientists in hazmat suits chase the creeper but fail to catch it. Kenneth then sees 17 enter the room and orders him to help. When the creeper stops moving, 17 tries to mimic the sounds he's heard from the creature, and Dorothy notices. Meanwhile, 18 manages to grab the gun again and fires, but 17 and Nasha tackle him, causing the bullet to graze Kenneth's cheek and hit the black diamond, creating a large hole. As Kenneth yells about the clone violation, another creeper appears and attaches to Kenneth's face. Kai and the other guards immediately shoot the creature until only pieces remain, while the first creeper is finally captured by the scientists. They don't realize that the cries of the creeper baby are echoing down to its massive mother deep in the crevice. A few minutes later, Nasha and the Mickeys are locked in a cage. They start arguing about the creeper, and 17 tells them what happened inside the crevice, that the creepers seemed disgusted by him. But Nasha thinks maybe the creature actually saved 17 and even guided him out of the crevice. Suddenly, a bag is thrown while the guard is sleeping. It turns out to be Timo, who enters easily because the guard is one of his clients. Timo shows a note posted on his office door saying that Darius's men have followed them into space. Darius is willing to forgive the debt if Timo sends him a violent video. So, Timo decides to cut 17 into pieces with a chainsaw. While the guard sets up the camera, Timo cries and begs 17 to give up, saying that sooner or later, 17 will end anyway. He then stops begging and tells the guard to electrocute 17. 18 says that Timo should take him instead, since he has better physical endurance and won't die easily. But in return, Timo must share the oxazolol first. As the guard approaches to hand it over, 18 suddenly attacks. At the same time, Nasha grabs the keys in the guard's weapon and electrocutes Timo until he collapses. They prepare to finish Timo, but Zeke suddenly arrives, and they are all captured again. As they are escorted down the corridor, 17 realizes that Nasha has always protected him, like the moment when she requested a hazmat suit just to be with Mickey during a toxic experiment. When they reach the main window, they are shocked to see the entire creeper swarm surrounding the spaceship. The scientists are moving the crying creeper baby, and when Dorothy sees 17, she mimics the creeper's sounds, which 17 then repeats. Dorothy thinks it might be a language and believes she could develop a translation device for it. Everyone is then taken to the recycling room, where Ylfa cuts off the creeper baby's tail just to make a new sauce. Kenneth then uses a hot metal rod to mark 18's cheek for identification, and he orders the scientists to erase all memory backups from the storage box. When Kenneth starts complaining about the creepers and calls them aliens, Nasha responds that the creepers are the real natives and humans are the actual aliens. She reveals that the creatures had saved Mickey, but Kenneth just laughs and says they didn't eat Mickey because Mickey is trash. Dorothy also speaks up, explaining that her team is developing a translation device. Suddenly, the creeper baby spits at Kenneth, who throws the hot metal rod in return but misses the baby. Kenneth starts yelling about everything that doesn't make sense, and Nasha responds with curses. Enraged, Kenneth hangs the baby over a recycling hole and throws the other end of the rope to Nasha, forcing her to catch it with her teeth if she wants to save the creeper baby. Zeke orders one of his men to record everything using the hidden camera in his glasses. Kenneth says he wants to exterminate all the creepers with gas, but Ylfa has a better idea. Explosives are attached to the Mickey's bodies, and Kenneth is given 2 buttons to detonate them at any time. Ylfa also orders them to cut as many creeper tails as possible. Any Mickey who collects 100 tail pieces becomes the winner and is allowed to live, while the loser is executed. As the 2 Mickeys walk out, 17 says this all feels like punishment for the car accident in the past, but 18 believes the car was faulty from the start, and the button being pressed was just a coincidence. They can't blame themselves for their mother's death. Dorothy approaches at the exit and gives them a prototype translator device. The 2 Mickeys then search for the creeper mother in the crowd, and when they meet the creature, they can now understand Mickey. The creeper mother knows Mickey's name and says she saved him, but the humans responded by killing her child. If the baby creeper named Zoko dies like Luco, then they must prepare for annihilation. As proof, the mother begins to howl, followed by all her children. The Mickeys cover their ears, but the mother says it's useless, as within minutes, the howling will explode all human heads. On the spaceship, Kenneth and Ylfa panic when they see the Mickeys start to communicate with the creepers. Suddenly, 17 runs toward the camera and forms the C3 symbol with his fingers, a symbol Nasha recognizes as bring the baby.
C3.
Ylfa and the church representative call it nonsense and say that as the leader, Kenneth should be the one to speak to the planet's native species. 17 promises the creeper mother that Nasha will bring her baby, but the mother says that is not enough. Since the humans killed Luco, a life must be paid in return. 3 vehicles led by Kenneth start to exit the spaceship. Meanwhile, Nasha threatens to break Ylfa's neck with her foot. Zeke grabs the rope, and Nasha says she will release Ylfa if she is allowed to bring the baby to its mother. As Zeke hands over the rope, Ylfa suddenly cuts Zeke's wrist, making the rope slip away. Nasha catches the baby just in time. Ylfa wants Nasha to be arrested, and at the same time, Zeke announces that Kenneth and Ylfa have abused their power, so the case goes to the committee.
Thanks, Zeke.
Seeing the vehicles approaching, the creeper children immediately run to cover their mother and create piles everywhere as a distraction. Now the guards don't know where to shoot. Kenneth randomly picks one, but suddenly 18 appears in front, and the priest pushes a soldier to fire the rocket into the air. Otherwise, the explosive in 18's body will activate and kill them all. Kenneth fires, but the bullet hits the camera instead, giving 18 the chance to leap at him. When Nasha arrives with the baby, 18 announces that he will give the one life the mother asked for. 18 hesitates, and Kenneth tries to manipulate him with fear of death. But in the end, 18 presses the button. An explosion happens, killing both himself and Kenneth. The creepers finally leave in peace. After everything ends, the entire crew is imprisoned. Ylfa loses her sanity and is sent to a mental hospital. That's where she ends it all. Timo meets one of Darius's men again and immediately fights him brutally, then throws him into the recycling pit. But even though he kills, Timo is released for claiming self-defense. Then the trial of the remaining crew is shown, which turns chaotic due to law and politics. After being released from prison, Nasha runs for a committee position, hoping to change the system from within. Meanwhile, Dorothy finishes the translation device, and now Mickey often talks with the creepers. It turns out that the howling is actually just a normal sound and not dangerous to humans. It's not just humans who like to bluff. 6 months later, Mickey sees someone near the printing machine and realizes Ylfa is printing a new Kenneth. Mickey scolds Ylfa because she's supposed to be gone, but Ylfa offers her bleeding hand to be touched. Unlike the memory of his mother, Mickey no longer feels afraid and curses Ylfa. It turns out all of it is just a dream. The film ends with Mickey waking up among the people watching Nasha give a speech as the new committee leader. When Nasha announces the expendable program is over, Mickey presses a button that destroys the printer machine.